Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitangscha Om Ajnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Guru Gaura Gandharva Govindang Gringanai Saha Vande Prasadato Yesham Sabaramba Sabankara Gauravag Vigraham Vande Gaurangam Gauravaibavam Gaura Sankirtanomatam Gaura Korunyasundaram Guru Rupa Harim Gauram Radha Ruchi Rutavritam Nityam Naomi Navadipe Nama Kirtana Nartanai Srimad Prabhupadamboja Madhupebhyo Namo Namaha Nindantam Pulakot Karena Bikasam Nipa Prasunachchavim Prodrikritva Bhujadvayam Hari Hari Ituchai Vedantam Muhu Nityantam Dhutamasvu Nirjara Chai Sinchantam Urvitalam Gayantam Nija Parasadaya Parivratam Shigaura Chandram Nama Ananda Lila Maya Vigrahaya Himavadivyascha Visundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Hare Krishna.
And about Maharaj,
So
there is a question from Priyanana Didi Gupta Gordhan.
Hare Krishna.
Verse 1 of Sri Upadeshamrita is about controlling your urges. In his commentary to this verse, Srila Saraswati Thakur advises, quote, "To attain the divine wealth at the feet of Sri Rupa's followers and to please them, take full shelter even if you are unqualified in Sri Rupa's Upadeshamrita, which is revered by the Lord's pure devotees." Unquote. What does it mean practically to take shelter of Sri Upadeshamrita, and how to do it if you are unqualified?
We're always dependent upon the grace of the Lord and His devotees. We can even say through His devotees, His grace descending through His devotees. Srila Guru Maharaj says, without the grace of Sri Guru, we are lifeless clay. So we're very proud of our shadow self, composed of acquired prejudices, acquired tendencies. But if we want the pure heart to be expressed, then they'll have to be, those layers will have to be removed. And we say, it is a heart-to-heart transaction. Yes. And Krishna, we hear, He wants heart. Raga Bhakti, heart, love and affection. But which heart is capable of giving the love and affection that Krishna hankers for or is interested in? Means, the pure heart. I heard the other day, Gopal Bhatta Goswami thinking of Prahlad Maharaj. That is one indicated in the Bhakti Sudhir Sindhu of Rupa Goswami as one indicator of the path of pure devotion. The pure devotee, always thinking of the devotion of other devotees, not of their own love. They're always present themselves as unqualified. You say the unqualified, it's assumed you're unqualified. Don't you say, I wonder if I'm qualified. No, we're unqualified. That's our default position, is we're unqualified. And if we want to be recipients of the grace of Sri Guru will continue to think of ourselves as unqualified. Not to like, oh, now I'm qualified. Then, oh, you do not need grace or mercy. No, always unqualified. Guru Maharaj says that a pure devotee, Shuddha Vaishnav, will never think that they have achieved anartha nivritti. Meaning, we hear the sequence, agyata sukriti, sukriti shraddha, sadhu sangha, bhajana kriya, tatonartha, taton nishta, ruchi, etc. He said, anartha, free from anartha, they will never think that they are. They will. That means they will for always and ever think of themselves as unqualified. But, so Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he's thinking, Prahlad Maharaj, give heart, receive heart. He has so much heart, the Lord appears out of stone, the stone column, pillar. But this stone heart of mine remains untouched, right? Mahaprabhu nam nam akari bahudha nija sarva shaktis tatrapitak niyamatak smarane nakala etadrashi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi durdevam ij nanuraga na anurag. Durdeva, my misfortune, my bad luck. Remember, he's voicing the sentiments of Srimati Radharani. He's saying, this is my Durdeva, my misfortune, my bad luck. What? Na anurag. You're so merciful that you're fully present in your innumerable names. And I have no attraction for this. I have no feeling for that. He's saying that. And after the first verse of the Shastakam, talking all of these wondrous effects of the holy name of Krishna, Cheto Darpana Marjanam Baba Maha, Darpana Marjanam, Cheta, Darpana, cleansing the mirror of the mind. Again, to get at that pure heart. Cheto Darpana Marjanam, Bhava Maha Davagni Nirvapanam, Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam, Vidyavadu Jivanam, Anandam Burivardhanam, Pratipatam Punamritas Vadanam, Sarvatma Snapanam, Param Vijayate, Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. So you know, how wonderful. And then next verse. And I have no attraction for that. I have no heart. My heart's not in it. Right? So then how to go there? Guru Maharaj put it this way. He said, we're being told in essence, Kalo Sankirtan, Kalo Nam Sankirtan, Kalo Parama Upai. In the Kali Yuga, you'll get everything from sound culture. That means Nam Sankirtan. Sound culture will give you everything. And he said, but what? You may have to cross over mountains to get to that plane. Trinadapi Sunichena Turopi Sahishnuna Amani Namanadena Kirtiniya Sadahari. So Guru Maharaj said, one man was very excited hearing about all these prospects of Vaishnavism and Krishna Bhakti and everything. And then when he heard this, but to get there, Trinadapi, you'll have to be humbler than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, offer all respect to others, expect none for yourself. He said, oh, it is impossible. And in terms of toleration, Srila Gurudev said, to tolerate that which is intolerable. Because otherwise, if it's just something that you can tolerate, that's another. He's saying, no, to tolerate that which is intolerable. Right? And he sort of further condensed this at one point in saying that my religion is finding fault with myself, not casting blame upon others or into the environment. And what is that mountain to be crossed over? Like the Hankara Nivrittanam, Hankara Rishaya Parva, that well, Bhaktivinoda says, Vinod bole hai hai haridas hari nahi pai. Vinod is lamenting, what is this situation I'm in? I am Krishna Kinkar, the eternal servant of Krishna, and he's nowhere to be found. Right? This verse also. But, so who is our nearest and dearest? Hari. What is separating us? A mountain of ego. Right? So it's a mountain of ego in which the heart is buried. So how to discover? So Srila Guru Maharaj tells us that although Krishna, he wants heart, he wants love and affection, in our present condition we're not capable of giving it. He said, so although that's what he wants, we should concentrate on what he says. And that means the rules and regulations. He wants rag, that is where transcends rules and regulations, but you're not there. He said, do not think you're a raga bhakta. Right? That you've got that heart that Krishna is so eager for. Saying, then you concentrate on the rules and regulations. Right? So in terms of the Upadeshamrita, Srila Guru Maharaj says, actually, Mahaprabhu's teachings through Rupa Goswami. He says that in his last days, Mahaprabhu, he said, sometimes chanting this, sometimes chanting that, different things are coming to him. And Rupa Goswami is collecting them. And then we can say with his unparalleled poetic skill, putting them in the slokas and the Upadeshamrita. But it is in essence like a distillation of the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And most often when people, so many new recruits to Krishna consciousness, they're going toward the 11th sloka, or the last two slokas, about bathing in the waters of Radha Kunda. It says in the Upadeshamritam, forgetting what the first sloka says. But with regard to that, just for the sake, Guru Maharaj says, Srila Saraswati Thakur says, it is not water in the conventional sense. It's bathing in the depths of the ultimate self-sacrificing tendency that is personified in Srimati Radharani. It is Srimati Radharani in liquid form. So it means bathe in the waters of self-sacrifice, swa-atma arpanam. Atma arpanam, yeah, swa-atma arpanam, swa-atma arpanam. Self-giving. Right? When we, so Guru Maharaj said, they are plodding in the mud of misconception, thinking they are swimming in the divine waters of Sri Radha Kunda. Right? And so, but that said, we mentioned the other day, Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, in a nutshell, he's telling us what is Krishna consciousness. Right? He says, Aradhya Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayas Tadama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachid Upasana Brajabadu Bargena Chakalpita. So, what was the method of worship invented by the Brajagopis and their leader, Srimati Radharani? We say, well, that's too high. Gopi, Bhav, Gopi, Bhajan, that's too high. Yes, in that plane, but it has to have some parallel here that is accessible. And that, so what is the principle? Self-giving. That's what was invented by them, is that you offer yourself, not you offer something that you owned or temporarily possessed or a particular level of, no, you give yourself. That's their method of worship. Is the total, and Guru Maharaj's words, die to live. Right? The complete sacrifice of yourself. without any consideration of remuneration. As when we hear of the pastime of Krishna's headache, and he says that to Narada that I'm suffering so much from a headache, and only the feet dust of my devotee will cure it. So Narada, please. And he runs to the queens of Dwaraka. And they're horrified by this proposal. Because that's the lowest, I thought it was the opposite. We're supposed to offer our heads to the lotus feet of the Lord and His man. Now you're saying take the dust from our feet and put it on His head. We shudder to think of such a thing. And how the inauspicious consequence of this unthinkable. Oh. And they're very intelligent. They say, and besides, Narada, Premaika, Nishta, Narada, aren't you mentioned in the Upadeshamrita as a Premaika Nishta? Give your feet to us. Narada, oh, he runs back to Krishna. None is prepared to give. We see, at different times, Krishna, on the plea of something, really, he always wants to shine a spotlight on the devotion of Srimati Radharani and Braja Gopis. So Uddhava Sandesh, the message, Uddhava, take this message to them. You know. Really, he wants Uddhava to see their unparalleled level of self-giving and self-sacrifice. Here, Narada. So he goes, oh, Narada, then go to Braja. So the queens of Dwaraka refuse this on the grounds of inauspicious future consequences. And also it just seems so antithetical to the culture of devotion. So they're refusing. Go to Braja. Just as we hear in the Gita, Sarva dharmam parityaja mam ekam sharanam braja, braja sharanam. The type, what are they? Arjapatam chihitva. That it means sarva dharmam. They've crossed over these, they've got that heart. Right? They've crossed over the rules and regulations because of their pure hearts. So much so that Krishna is saying, my promise in the Gita, ye yatamam prapadyante tam stateva bhajamyaham, that as you surrender to me, I will reciprocate that. The gopis make me break that promise. Na pareham nirvada samyudam. I can't. It's so pure, the love and affection you have for me. If I give you my whole self, that's not enough. So Guru Maharaj would invoke the saying, virtue is its own reward. And incidentally, he says that means also that we will be happy to know that we're on this path. And you say, the unqualified. Yes, we're unqualified, but we're in connection with the qualified. Right? Yogyata bichari kichunahi pai tomara korunsar. So, Narada approaches the Braja Gopis. And what is their response? I don't know if I'm a devotee, but take my feet off. What do you mean? What would be the consequence? You're an unqualified person putting your feet on Krishna's, eternal hell. They say, maybe, but Krishna will get some relief. That's what he wanted them to see. No concern for themselves. Right? Yes, I will go to hell, I may go to hell forever, but Krishna will get some relief. That's our only concern. So no body consciousness, no self-consciousness in that sense. And we call it oblivion. Self-oblivion does not mean self-annihilation or self-extinction. It just means so wholly given over to the other as if to have lost yourself, yet you retain your identity. So Srila Guru Maharaj mentions in the construction of one Gaudiya Math although it's not generally the way that they operate. Even to this day in India, they don't take loan. They collect the funds, build a place, and then beg to maintain it. But in this instance, so the construction wouldn't stop, they took a loan. And they were afraid to tell that to Srila Saraswati Thakur, that he would be very displeased with them. But when he became aware of it, he said, he said, this is like the Braja Gopis. He said, not only have you sacrificed all of your present resources, but you've sacrificed your future. You offered your future in service too, because you'll have to pay that back. Right? So he was happy to hear that once they had exhausted whatever resources were available to them at present, then what can we do? Let's offer our future, sacrifice our future in this service. So he was happy to hear that. So that when we talk of these things which are higher, we talk Pujala Ragapat, Gaurava Bange, Matala Sarudana Bishairange. With folded palms and a bowed head, we try to serve that higher plane. And what do we take from there in terms of guidance? The principle. Not voyeuristically envisioning ourselves as super servitors, but from the least position, following that spirit, that essence, that what is this about? Is offering yourself in service. So if there's some particular service that has come before me, then I can, with wholeheartedly embrace that service in connection to that higher plane. And that will be my happiness, knowing that this is the right direction to proceed in. So the book that ends in the bathing in the ultimate waters of self-sacrifice in Radha Kunda begins with Vacho Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udaropasta Vegam, Etan Veganu, Vishaheta Dira, Sarvam, Apimam, Pritivim, Sashishat. That speech, very interesting. It's going to end up in this other plane. What is the first thing? Speech. The urge to speak. And Vachu Manasakrodave. There's so many things come into our mind. Right? At one point, Gurumar, what does he say? They are superficial enemies dancing like demons on the surface of our mind. That's what he said. Superficial enemies dancing like demons on the surface of our mind. That's how he described it. But the urge to speak to, he says, we say something and then we go, oh, why did I say that? Or we say something knowingly, willfully, to hurt the heart of another person. So, I was saying, like when they don't want the dogs to do certain things, what do? Put a muzzle, right? But if you take the idea, though, is you take the muzzle off, then they're going to do that very thing. So to try and artificially control will not be successful, right? So in the Gita also, Vishaya vinivartante nirahara shadehina rasovarjam rasopyasya parandristva nivartate. Saying, just restricting yourself from doing something is not a permanent solution. So what does it say? Rasovarjam rasopyasya paramdristva. But if you have superior subject matter to speak about, then automatically you're not talking about something lower. Right? So what does Sukadev say? Shrotavyas, kirtitavyascha, smartavyas. To always hear about Krishna, speak about Krishna, remember Krishna. Right there we're dealing with, the urge to speak, what the mind thinks about, and krodha means anger. Right? We're angry when our will has not been realized, when the environment is not bending to our will. And jiva vegam, so further said the speech, then jiva means the tongue, here more on taste, slaves of taste. Right? Udaropasta, then the belly. So Guru Maharaj makes it, one is for taste, the other one is being full. The thing, I have to eat until I'm full. Or one person said, why do I not just eat until I'm full? I eat until I hate myself. Like I eat that much. Now I hate myself for what I just did. That's udaropasta. Right? And just see, like one speech, tasting, belly. Like there's a line, and then to sexual appetite. Right? So it starts here, right? Not in verse 11 about bathing in the divine. Like if you didn't follow the directions in verse 1, then that's an unrealizable fantasy. Or you'll be plodding in the mud of misconception, thinking you're swimming in the divine waters of Radha Kunda. Let's go back to verse 1 and start with control of the tongue. Right? Guru Maharaj said in another place, he said, you cannot distinguish. You have a hard time distinguishing between your mind and your intellect, and you want to talk about the Vaikuntha world. Right? So, but this verse, the hopeful part is saying, so, Udaropasta Vegam, Etan Veganyo Vishaheta Dira, Sarvam Apimam Prativim Sasishat. There's different ways to render this. And Srila Prabhupada's Nectar of Instruction, it says something along the lines of, and one who's so qualified, they can make disciples all over the world. Right? But Guru Maharaj says it in this way, Sarvam Apimam Prativim Sasishat. If you can do this, he said, the world can be your disciple. In other words, you'll get mastery over the world, or worldly experience. That's what he's saying. Sarvam apima prativim sasishat. The world will be your shisha, in principle. Right? Both are true, but he renders it that way. So, and if we see in the succeeding verses, the dati, particular, or he's mentioning what are the things that will increase devotion, and those things that will diminish devotion or ruin it. And see how they're in it, when we're talking about, we're always putting the emphasis on sadhu sangha, or sadhu sangha satovare, getting superior association. Then how that will increase devotion. Then it stands to reason that would diminish devotion is inferior association or bad association. Jana sangas chalolyam cha. What was, atyahara prayascha prajalpo niyamagraha jana sangas chalolyam cha shadbir bhakti vinashati. Atyahara, then back on this theme of the tongue. Overeating or over-collecting or endeavoring too much for that which is unnecessary. Prayasas. Prajalpo. Unnecessarily speaking. How much of this is connected to the tongue and speaking? And the only solution being the positive part of engaging in Krishna Kirtan. Right? Niyamagraha. That means following a principle to the detriment of the essential understandings that you follow rules and regulations to be fit for service. So he gives the example of fasting. So remember, the real principle is of observance is to keep yourself fit for service. So if you try to follow a principle that makes you unfit to serve, not to drink a drop of water on Ekadashi. So you find that by not drinking even water, you're lying in a bed unable to do any seva. That's niyamagraha. I remember once when I met or was regularly visiting Srila Guru Maharaj in the beginning, and then Ekadashi day came. And so at the end of the talk, Guru Maharaj was saying, so take some anukalpa, which can mean, two things. It can mean a secondary aspect of a rule, or it can mean a substitute. Okay. So anyway, he said, and I said, actually, and this is something I've been doing for a few months. I said, I've been fasting. And I said, I was thinking, I'm a sannyasi, I should, some of this would be good for me to do. And Guru Maharaj's first answer was, he said, perhaps your Guru Maharaj wanted you to be that way. That's what he said. And I said, well, no, he didn't say to do this. It's just something I came up with on my own. And then Guru Maharaj said, that is not the line of Maha. Now he's telling me the truth. First he said, maybe you're good, and then he finds out, no, he didn't tell me to do that. It's just something I made up. Right. Then now he knows. So he says, that is not the line of Mahaprabhu. And I could just say, if we just pause there for a moment, we can say, well, no, what about Raghunath Das Goswami and the 6 Goswamis we just heard the other day from Srinivasacharya, how little they take, the level of renunciation they show. But I like to remind everyone, it's this raso varjam raso pyasya param drishtva nivartate principle. The param drishtva. What they're experiencing is so nectarizing. They're feasting on nectarine substance. So they're so nourished that they have the least need for anything from this world. It's not that through sensory deprivation they've achieved devotion. That is, it's incorrect to think in that way. In other words, that would be to suggest that like gyan or renunciation can give you devotion. No, bhaktya sanjatayava. Only devotion can give birth to devotion. Still, their renunciation is unparalleled, but it is the inverse. It is on account of internal absorption and nourishment that the least aspect is needed from anything external to maintain themselves. So anyway, then now so Guru Maharaj said, that is not the line of Mahaprabhu. And now I was just bewildered, and I was saying like, then what should I do? Guru Maharaj said, take some anukalpa. I'm like, oh, right, that's what you said in the beginning. I mean, go downstairs with Srila Govinda Maharaj and take a little prasadam. Saying that is our line, keep fit for service. Jana sangas chaloyam cha. Association. We're told sadhu sanga satovare, to seek out superior association. That's how we improve. Right? So interesting that there's some that beginning verse, vacho vegam manasakroda vegam, then verses telling us the things to avoid, then dadati pratigranati guhyamakati pritchati, the exchange, loving exchange of devotees. Then what is that? Utsahan nischaya, how to, the approach should be with enthusiasm, determination, etc. So then you see, in a sense, an arc going toward that later second. Then what the holy name of Krishna, and then what type of devotees there are, how to recognize spiritual substance, so many things. And then it's going higher, higher. But at the end, just a reminder also, when I said the premaika nishta, that is the position of Narada and Uddhava. Right. In the very last verse, it's saying, Yat preshtar apya sulabham bhakti durlabham, that to bathe in the divine waters of Radha Kunda, that is a rare achievement for the Parama Preshta Sakis of Srimati Radharani. Is it Kim Punar Bhakti Bhajam? What to speak of other devotees? So even Uddhava, Narada, they were mentioned the verse before. Now it's saying even these Parama Preshta Sakis of Srimati Radharani, this will be a rare achievement for them. So our position will be that through the association and a service of the Vaishnavas and higher Vaishnavas, that we may go from unqualified toward qualified. Any other question?
Yes, Maharaj, we have a question from Gupta Gauthan also.
Mm-hmm.
How do we recognize which of our experiences is true and spiritual?
Sadhu, Shastra, Guru, Vaishnav. Srila Guru Maharaj tells us that we should not be overly confident in our own assessment of things. Right? Like, and it's interesting, even in the pastimes of Mahaprabhu, right? Sanatana Goswami, he thinks he's coming to Mahaprabhu for a particular purpose, and then somehow he contacts the skin disease on the way there, and then Mahaprabhu seeing him as embracing him, and all of this is going on. Mahaprabhu and Sanatana Goswami saying, like, whoa, the opposite of what I wanted is happening. Now for sure I'm going to hell. Yeah. But Mahaprabhu feels he's like his baby. Right. But so at one point, Sanatana Goswami Prabhu is inquiring from Jagadananda Pandit about, what do you think? I'm thinking I should return to Vrindavan. I mean, you're close to Mahaprabhu. What is your opinion? And Jagadananda Pandit says, yeah, I agree. I think you should go back to Vrindavan. Now, we will hear later, when Mahaprabhu heard this, he was enraged. He's saying, that boy, Jaga, dared instruct you? Because Sanatana Goswami, he's the most senior of the six Goswami, and Jagadananda, relatively speaking, a boy. Right. And that point is made, but I'm just making another point here. On the basis of that, see the humility of Sanatana Goswami Prabhu. He's in the superior position, and he's inquiring from a subordinate. Why? Saying, oh, you're close to Mahaprabhu, I'm visiting, so I'm asking your advice. You can say, no, he's Sanatana Goswami, he doesn't have to do that. So, if he is not overly confident in his own assessment of things and seeks the guidance of another Vaishnava, then what should be our position? So Guru Maharaj says, and who are they? Those who are senior and reliable. That's in terms of the Vaishnava. But I mentioned Sadhu, Shastra, Guru, and Vaishnav. So if something comes to us, right, then this is the system of checks and balances. It has to have some Shastric reference, right? Or from our Guru Varga, or the great saints and their sayings. Right? Sadhu, Shastra, Guru, Vaishnav. We verify with Guru. Vaishnava, senior devotees, reliable, those who are proven reliable representatives of Guru, of Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru. Right. So, but this again, this comes up in different places within Charitamritam. So the other, remember the other day we're talking about the glories of Ramananda Roy. Right? Well, what's interesting is why two things are assembled in a chapter that may, on first glance, appear unrelated. But if you recall, we're being told that Mahaprabhu is telling a devotee to hear Krishna Katha from Ramananda. And when he's thinking, he's the sort of, what do you call it, intimate care that he's giving these Devdasis gave Pradyumna Misra pause about him, right? And which is interesting because normally if we heard similar things about someone, about Ramananda, we would dismiss them out of hand as being bogus. But this is coming from Mahaprabhu himself. And we know in the background that Ramananda is Vishaka Saki. So Vishaka Saki knows perfectly how to train, condition gopis. Really, not just metaphorically, literally, metaphorically, in every sense. So, and what does Mahaprabhu say? There's Ek Ramananda, which is also perfect. Because they say, well, yeah, there was another. No, there's not. Mahaprabhu said, there's one Ramananda. So, if you think similar activity from another person, they're on the same, not according to Mahaprabhu, he's saying, what you know of him, he's the only person this applies to. Right? So, that sort of unprecedented certification by Mahaprabhu. Right? So Pradyumna Misra goes again, hears from him. And what is so? And he's hearing from him about the subject matter. We're told, Vikrididam Brajabadu Viridam Javishnu Shraddhan Bato Anushranaya Dattavarnayedya. These pastimes of Radha and Krishna and Braja Gopis that will cure you of lust, cure the heart, have to be heard from the proper person. And who's the proper person? The one who's massaging the Devdashis, training them how to express the gopi sentiments of the Jagannath Ballava Natak. Except no substitute. There's Ek Ramananda. But that chapter, it continues on. And the continuation is where we're told that there's some devotee who, a simple-hearted Vaishnava, who's written some poetry, and it's giving delight to other devotees, and this one devotee, Bhagavadacharya, keeps pressing Srup Damodar to hear it. And what we need to understand first is that things have to pass the Swarup Damodar test, or they don't go to the ear of Mahaprabhu. Right. We're told if it's upasiddhantic, it will make Mahaprabhu angry. Right. Guru Maharaj says that upasiddhanta strikes the spinal cord of the thinking person, proper thinking person. So, interesting. Mahavadanaya Krishna, he's so merciful, right? And but if you express up a siddhanta to him, it will make the Mahavadanaya avatar angry, right, toward you, what you're expressing. It will not make him happy. So to prevent that, it shows that there's gradations also of devotees. And also the things they like or they appreciate. They think, oh, this is really good. Then you bring it to the qualified person, Swarup Damodar, and he shuts it down. And so Bhagavad-acharya keeps pushing, oh, you got what he's written is really nice. You should read this or hear this. Many devotees like hearing it, and you should really hear it. So finally, Swarup Damodar hears it. And when he hears it, he's saying, this is an aparad. He said, your intentions were to glorify Jagannath and Mahaprabhu, and you've insulted both of them. And the end result for you will be, unfortunately, hell. Right. So what do they say? The royal road to hell is paved with good intentions. Do not take a job with that construction company. Okay. So now here's another episode or event where someone they're so happy, everybody's so happy, they think this is the greatest thing they've ever heard, and now the qualified person, Swarup Damodar, dismissing it. Right. Guru Maharaj said when a book was popular when he was a college student called Amiya Nimai Charit, later rendered as Lord Gauranga. And as a college student, Guru Maharaj liked it. He said, this book about Gauranga, He once devoured it like nectar, came to Srila Saraswati Thakur. Saraswati Thakur said, Nija Boge Gorila Gauranga. That man has presented the Gauranga that entertains him, is amusing or entertaining to him. He said, no man of higher substance, a higher Vaishnava, won't find any substance there. And he said, what? It's that author took from Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Charitamritam, Chaitanya, all these different places and assembled it together. But Saraswati Thakur said, yeah, according to what is pleasing to him. When some devotees, they're always trying to discover something new. Rather than concentrating on what is before us, there's a Bengali saying for that too. Gora denge gash kawa. That the horse jumps over the troughs of food before it in search of food. So we're told, read the Bhagavatam, read Chaitanya Charitamritam, Bhagavad Gita, Upadeshamrita, these songs, etc. Jump over that and go search for something else. Right? So they found, and you'll find something else. So they come to go, there was a Chaitanya Charitamritam written by one man in the 1950s. Thinking like Guru Maharaj had never heard. And he said, did that man publish the Antya Leela first? And they go, why, yes, he did. Guru Maharaj said, yes. He had just lost his wife the year before, and he felt that separation he was feeling from his wife gave him some insight into Mahaprabhu. And then everybody vomited, metaphorically. Now I'm amusing myself. You understand the point? Did I make the point? Okay. So, that man now, working for that royal construction company, right? Now he's being told by Swarup Damodar, you've insulted Mahaprabhu and Jagannath. Hell. Right? But because Swarup Damodar is supremely qualified, right, and merciful, is saying, well, Goddess Saraswati, sometimes we say things, back to Vacho Vega Manasakra, sometimes we say things that by her mercy, the Goddess Saraswati can turn an offensive statement into praise, into a glorification. Like, one example comes to mind, Shishupal, who we mentioned the other day. As a toddler, the first words out of his mouth were offensive about Krishna. So does he know how to play a role? But so one of the things he'd say to Krishna, you are Naradama. That means the lowest among men, Nara Adama. But Goddess Saraswati changed it, Narotama, Narotam, you're the most exalted of men. Naradam, Narotam. So Swarup Damodar says, actually, if we look at what you've said, and he starts Saraswati-izing what was written before him and turning it into praise. So he saved that man from the hell that awaited him for doing what? Striking the spinal cord of the proper thinking person, of which Guru Maharaj was such a person. Right? So it's like high voltage. Right? Only a qualified, super qualified electrician can handle high voltage. Right? Not even ordinary electrician, super qualified to handle that level of current without harming themselves. So siddhanta, and when we say what this is some esoteric or peripheral thing, no, siddhanta means reality. That is what siddhanta is. And when we say, the ultimate conclusion, it means, the reality. Or the ultimate reality. What is it? Reality to beautiful. It means Krishna. So it means to speak about Krishna inaccurately, or a misrepresentation or an inaccurate representation of Krishna. And Krishna and the beloved of Krishna. So, when Srila Guru Maharaj, who we know, laying so much stress on Madhura Rasa, and that being the line, and it's there, like Gurudev said, it's not that, yes, we should not go into the details of higher things, but we should know what it is, that it exists. And so, some devotees in Guru Maharaj's name, they were decrying Vatsalya Rasa and others, Sakya Rasa, Vatsalya. And when this came to Guru Maharaj's ear, the spinal cord of the proper thinking man, Guru Maharaj said, my heart is mortified to hear these things. He said, what is their conception? Like when Gurudev in his final days, and nowadays, like one day singing something to himself and glowing and looking off in the distance. I said, Maharaj, what is he? He said, Jasomati is doing arati to the lotus face of Krishna. That's what he's seeing. And thinking how beautiful that is. Mother Yashoda doing arati to the lotus face of Krishna. That's a particular vision of his heart at that moment. So much appreciation for Vatsalya Rasa. So Guru Maharaj said, my heart is mortified to hear these things. He said, Do they know that the first duty of Srimati Radharani, every morning when she wakes up, she goes and gives like dandavats to the doorstep of Yashoda Mai, thanking, the Lord for her and the world. Without her, there would be no Krishna. That's her position, right? So back to this theme of devotees always appreciating the devotion in other devotees. So if we want to know, what was the wording? Whether or not...
About what?
What we think is real? Or
how do we recognize which of our experiences is true and spiritual?
Yeah. By dadati pratigranati guhyamakyati pritchtati. Inquiring from a superior, reliable devotee. Revealing what we feel to them in confidence. So you see, and Srila Guru Maharaj, when he wrote his Bhakti Vinod Viraha Dasakam, right, that was in the lifetime of Srila Saraswati Thakur. But when Saraswati Thakur is going through the press, they're going to print it in one of their magazines or like Harmonist or some such publication, and he sees this. The verse, Sri Gauranumatam Swarupa Viditam Rupagrajen Adritam Rupadye Pariveshitam Raguganaya Ashaditam Shevitam Jivadye Abhirakshitam Shiva Sukha Brahma Samanitam Sri Radha Padasevanamritam Aho Tadatum Isho Bhavan. He's captured. And that was Guru Maharaj's strategy. Saying, I want to capture Srila Saraswati Thakur, how praise Bhaktivinoda Thakur properly. And Saraswati Thakur said instantly, who has written this? And someone said, Sridhar Maharaj has written this. And Saraswati said, oh no, he has not written this. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written this through him. That's how you know if something is real. We're interested in that reality, not our own little private realities. That reality, that Saraswati Thakur, what comes from the heart of Srila Guru Maharaj, his heart expressing perfect praise of Bhaktivinoda, but who in that verse? Of Mahaprabhu, right? Or Swarup Damodar. Right? Sri Gauranumatam Swarupa Viditam. Why Mahaprabhu came down in this world is known fully to Swarup Damodar. So he's praising Mahaprabhu, then Swarup Damodar. Rupagrajen Adritam. And that divine substance is worshipped by Sanatana Goswami Prabhu. Rupadye Pariveshitam. And is being distributed by Sri Rupa and his followers. Ragugunai Ashwadita. And Raghunath Das is tasting that divine substance and it's becoming enhanced by that. Normally, if someone extracts the taste from something, it becomes tasteless. Right? I'm saying, what is this substance that when it's tasted by these qualified persons, the Raso Varjam Ras Param Drishtva, right? It becomes more tasteful. Right? That's the reality that we're interested in. Right? Ragu and who Ragu, etc. Who's the etc.? Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Charitamritam, Jivadye Abhirakshitam, and Jiva Adye Baladev Vidyabhushan. What are they doing? They're protecting this divine substance from what? adulteration, misrepresentation, imitation, or from those who would challenge its authenticity. That's their seva. Right. Sukha, Shiva, and Brahma. And we mentioned Uddhava. Asamaho charanarenu jishamahangshang brindavane kimapi gumalato sadinam. After what he saw, he's saying, who are here, if I could have an atomic presence in the soil that they walk on, I'd be bathed in the dust from their holy lotus feet and my existence thereby consecrated. That's his level of appreciation. We always measure through inversion. The greatest amount of appreciation expressed for the least contact with that plane. Not the, voyeuristically envisioning oneself as a super servitor. It's the opposite. That's disqualified. Fantasy, fiction. The genuine devotees expressing the greatest amount of appreciation for the least contact with that plane reveals the depth of their connection. Jiva de abhirakshitam, Sukha, Sukadev, Shiva, Brahma, and Uddhava, aspiring asamaho for a drop of that divine substance. And what is it? Sri Radha Padasevanamritamaho Tadatumya. Oh, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, this is your gift to the world in the form of the Krishna consciousness movement, is the ultimate attainment of the service of the holy lotus feet of Srimati Radharani, as given in the pages from the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam to the end. Right? Because when we say that, what was this path invented by the Braja Gopis of offering yourself in service to that plane? Saying, how do you know these things? What's the evidence? I mean, these are outrageous statements. These teenage cowherd girls, they're the ultimate. They're higher than all the sages. They're higher than anyone. No one, can the greatest devotees aspire for even dust from their holy lotus feet? These are outrageous statements. How do we know that what you're saying, there's any proof of that? Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the spotless, pure proof of what is being said. Pramanama, and what does it say is the ultimate goal? Not dharma, not artha, kama, moksha, none of those things. Prema pumarto mahan. This is the goal. Prem, love, divine love, as epitomized in these girls, teenage gopi girls in Vrindavan. They're the highest, and their leader, Srimati Radharani. And so, prema, and so Bhagavatam's the evidence, and it's saying this is the ultimate goal. Prem, this is what everyone is searching for. How did you learn all of this? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matamidam Tatrapi Napara. From Mahaprabhu. This is Mahaprabhu's teaching. We learn this from Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Saraswata Mat. From Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Rupa Goswami, the six Goswamis, to Srila Saraswati Thakur and his followers. That's where we learn these things. Situated at the lotus feet of Sri Guru. This is the Krishna consciousness movement. This is the Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. This is what it is. Right? Except no substitute. Right? Hare Krishna. Hari Haraya Namo Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Hari Haraya Namo Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Kesavaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Garadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Echai Gochai Kodi Charana Bandhan Jaha Hoite Vignanas Abhishta Puran Echai Gochai Jarmui Taro Das Kansavada Padarenu Mora Panchagras Tandera Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanevas Janome More Abhilas Echai Gochai Jabe Braje Koilovas Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korilo Prakash Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Amon Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyash Hare Nam Sankirtan Kohe Narottama Das Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Okay. Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Gaura Hari Bo Gaur Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Gaur Hari Bo Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajaka Acharya Satara Sata Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Jai Saparikar Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Govinda Sundar Jiu Ki Jai Shri Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadip Dham ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai, Sri Gupta Govardhan ki jai, Ganga Devi, Jamuna Devi, Bhakti Devi, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Om Vishnupad Vishva Varanius Relasi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Madhacharya Brinda ki jai, Jai Sri Bhakti Bimalavadut Maharaj ki jai, Seva Brinda ki jai, Jai Sri Bhakti Lalita Devi Dasi ki jai, Samaveda Bhakti Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Go Premanande, Haribal.
Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
And then there was from Ophir Yavits, Bhakta Bandhu Prabhu, Philippines, Seva Rupa Didi, Mexico, Tanjai Prabhu, Russia, Praneshwari Didi, Florida, Banavi Didi, Italy, Adityanandana Prabhu, United Kingdom, Kalyani Didi, USA, Divya Shakti Didi, Bhupati Krishna Das, and Rutin Prabhu from Moscow, Ajita Krishna Prabhu, Russia, and then Jai Prabhu and Chaitanya Mai, Rome, Italy. Dandavats, dear Gurudev, Dandavats, all devotees from Italy.
And Rome.
And Rome, yeah. Rome. And Ishanuga Didi, London.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Jai Rasananda Prabhu, well, Sulakshana Nityananda, they're here. Chaitanya Nitai Prabhu and Vrindavan Dandavat, Shamala Didi Dandavat, Suresh Krishna Prabhu, and Riga, I think, Dandavat. Maheshwari, and new and greater Sukartal, Dandavat. Lalita Priya Didi Dandavat, Dandi Maharaj, Jai Sripad Bhakti Asrai Dandi Maharaj, Hare Krishna. Leela Sundar Prabhu, Das Brahmachari and Kiv. Jai Sripad Bhakti Sevan Rishikesh Maharaj, Dandavat. Sri Gaurachandra Prabhu, Dandavat. Hare Krishna. Purushottam Prabhu, oh, Hare Krishna. Dandavat. Udarja Leela, Dandavat. Damodar Prabhu, Dandavat, and there's Jai Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj ki Jai, Dandavat. Soumya Shyam Prabhu and Ors Dandavat, Ajita Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat, Chandrakanti Didi and China, Dandavat. Jamuna, oh Jamuna, she's and Utah, Dandavat. Ananta Shesh Prabhu in Spain, Dandavat. Aviram Prabhu, Dandavat. Brajabala Didi, Dandavat. I think that's everyone. Rasananda Prabhu, Dandavat. Hare Krishna. Vancha kava tribhyascha kripa sindhavevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. And Dandavats to one and all. Hare Krishna.